there are two things at play. I think age and I think where the data is coming from. But as we age, we do have to reset some expectations. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis. I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner, and that is all.
I'm Mitch, and I was thinking for the opener, like, this doesn't come out for a couple of weeks. Typically, we record a week or two ahead. But holy cow, is it cold outside.
Did you run this morning?
For 1.4 miles.
Wow. That's all you guys could take?
No, because I was solo.
Oh.
I got up and there was miscommunication. We're going back and forth. Like, are we really going to do this? It's like, well, we should do 3 to say we're going to do it. And everybody bowed out and I got dressed and I walked out.
Nobody was there.
Nobody. And I was texting Rob at the same time and he said he was 50-50. The lights were off. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm already dressed. I got a ton of clothes on. I'm going to go as far as I can. And then it was still like 5 degrees.
I was going to say, tomorrow morning is the real...
With a pretty major wind chill. But then I started down the road crossing the sod farms. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know how safe this is to do solo in my current condition with all my appointments and stuff. So I turn around.
Okay.
But, I could say, hey, I did at least a mile.
Oh, my goodness.
But I think I would have gone further if I had company and I knew I was safe.
You didn't turn around because you were freezing.
I was pretty cold. I do know that the tights I was wearing, I probably, if I go tomorrow and I have company, I think I'll want to wear a pair of sweats over it because that wind coming across the fields was pretty bitter on my legs.
Well, that's a terrible place to go. Why would you go that way?
There's no other way to go. I have to go there to get, like, everything else is sidewalks and the sidewalks aren't clear. So it's the only way, the only direction I can go.
To get into Hudsonville.
Unless I drive.
Yeah, well, that is, I guess it's good you got a run-in. It is for rigid right now in Michigan. For our area, West Michigan, we don't typically see below zero temperatures. We'll get into the single digits, every year, usually here and there. But to see negative temps or the wind chill type temps, the negative 20 type wind chill feeling, that just doesn't happen that often.
What's funny, though, is I had a big week last week. Again, this is, coming out in a couple weeks, but I had a 50-mile week.
Wow.
And I could feel it. Like like I did my longest ever long run. I was building up and I was like, okay, this is a taper week. But oh my gosh, with the cold and the conditions, it is just as much work. So I've been backing off on my mileage, and then you back off on the mileage, and then you're running through snow, and it's like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
It is
snow
so
is
much
no
work.
joke. Yeah, it's hard for sure. And it's funny because you would think, well, if it's packed. No, it's still hard because it breaks up. It's not like it's, and if it doesn't break up, it's not the same direct energy to pavement transfer, or it's not the same direct shoe to surface transfer of energy as when it's pavement. Yeah. I remember reading an article. This is going back quite a long time because I was wondering why it is, and I mean it makes sense on the just common sense why you don't go as fast on dirt or trail as you do on road. Like that makes sense, it's not like I would ever question that, but I just said, what's some data behind this? Why is it this much slower or whatever? And they've done some studies on, the amount of friction a shoe can have to the surface on a push off and all of that. And there was, I don't remember the study, but I just remember reading about it and how much more energy you're spending for the foot slipping. Because it's a slight slip, basically, in dirt. And then you compound that with snow or an even more slippery surface.
Well, I've been reevaluating a lot of things, and my long run was 12 miles
nice.
Saturday.
Wow.
And the amount of time that it took
with
me.
The zoo crew?
Yeah, and bonus. You know, like I got somebody to run with me at the end to add on.
Gotcha.
But I started to think, like, there are a lot of training plans that will say time on feet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of doing a 20 miler, you should only go 3 hours. And I'm really taking that to heart as I build up. Like, as long as it took me for 12, I don't know if I'm going to make it to a 20 miler. Just, you know, and I'm like, I think I'm okay with that. Like, I like that 20 miler.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds dumb, but I do.
It depends on what you're training for, I suppose.
Right.
If
for
you're
just
training,
a marathon.
Yeah. Well, that and even like, yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on what you're training for. And maybe it would be beneficial to dig into that even more with regards to what are my options, you know? Because maybe a 20 miler is in the cards, but not 3 of them.
Right.
Maybe 3 of them or 2 of them are 3 hours. And maybe one is...
When the weather gets better, maybe I do get more distance in, but I am not doing a 20 miler in snow.
No, I wouldn't want to do that. Man, I remember that.
I have, but not.
Well, I was thinking the what is that?
Groundhog or the Huff?
Winter. No, I was thinking the Winter
Yankee Springs.
Yankee
Winter
Springs.
Fest.
Gosh, why couldn't I think of that?
Yeah, that's
one.
Rough.
Oh, my goodness, that was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the year that was so bad at Groundhog was...
Yeah, there's been a few years.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm thinking the one that you actually stepped down to the half.
Yeah.
That year. Not very many people did the full that year.
What's funny about that is there's been years that have been pretty close to that.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time I'm more stubborn than that year.
Oh, gotcha. Combination of factors there, probably. I mean, that's just it, right? With everything that we do. And I remember being asked, you know, on race, like, why do you do a race? Why don't you just go run the 26? Well, it's because on race day, there are so many factors playing. Life circumstances can dictate whether or not you finish or not. You know, there's so many things in play, and you want to show up on race day.
Yep.
I mean, that's why you do it. But as we age, we do have to reset some expectations.
Or life circumstances.
Well, both.
For both,
yeah,
right.
I think both. And what we're going to talk about today, I think, plays into that.
Well, I wanted to say that, and I wanted to lead in that way, is every time I get done running, my watch says my heart rate was like at a tempo pace, even though you went slower. And I started to think, how accurate is my watch? So every time, like, a lot of these are personal for me when I start researching.
I think there are 2 things at play. I think age, and I think where the data is coming from.
Right.
And I think anytime you're taking it directly from the wrist versus a sort of strap, there's going to be a difference in accuracy.
I think both things are in play. I mean, definitely I am, I am trying to build back up. I know
that
I'm down.
too. There's that too.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think I come back and I feel good and it says, man, you really worked hard. And I'm like, I don't know if I worked that hard.
Yeah. And that's the one I think is the inaccuracy of the wrist.
Right. And I don't have a chest strap.
Yeah. I would never shouldn't say no. Well, I would say that. Man, I don't know how many runs I have posted when I've gotten back and said, I don't think so, Garmin. Because it's just straight up not right. Like and I'm not even talking in the last, let's say, 6 years, 7 years. I'm talking going back when I was actually running a lot and in good shape. And I would look at my watch going, and I would just laugh.
Recovery, 3 days.
Well, it's saying like 185. And I'm like, That's impossible. I know what 185 feels like at the end of a marathon, and this ain't it. So, and that's usually because, and I will say this, that's almost always because the battery went dead on my strap. Because I have always worn a chest strap.
Oh, that's what. And so it's picking up off your wrist at that point.
An auto picks up,
yeah,
off the wrist if it's not reading the chest strap. And I would get annoyed. I would shut that off until I changed the battery, and then I would toy around with the watch again and go, let's just see, because I would wear it as my daily watch. And I would throw the heart rate back on, and as long as you had a strap, it would pick up the strap. Then it would go dead, and it would start picking up that on my runs, and I would get mad. And because I have worn it,
So you don't actually learn, is what you're saying. Sometimes.
I learned not to trust the wrist. I'll tell you that, for heart rate. But yeah, we are going to jump into what has been titled The Illusion of Precision. And that is the numbers that essentially talking about the numbers that we get from our watches, from our devices that we use to run and keep track of data. Because for different people, that's going to be different things. I mean, I'm even thinking of I am at a loss for words today. What is that stupid thing I put on my shoe? That pod.
Oh, the Stride.
Stride.
Yeah.
The Stride device. Awesome data, but and we'll get into this a little bit. You have to understand it's not, we have to give it a little bit of wiggle room, understanding it is not precise science here that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So let's jump into, this is a great place to start, or it could be where we wanted to wrap up, but this particular one is one that gets thrown around a ton, and that's VO2 max. And this is going to talk about the math, which makes sense, versus the lab, and the math being how watches get VO2 max, what they're doing calculation-wise to give you a number.
Well, what I think is funny is the focus. Is this number on your wrist a badge of honor or a guess? And I love it. There are people in my groups that throw that around. I know I've talked about it before. Like, hey, my VO2 max is like, I'm like an 18-year-old.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
look how high that is. And I think I've lied when people are saying that. I take a snapshot. It's like, oh, mine's like 97, and I send that. Like, look at that.
Yeah, VO2 max is one similar to heart rate because I'm trying to think if they go hand in hand. I think they would be correlated. VO2 max is one that is age. It goes down with age. It just does. Every chart is going to show you. So if you're 60, you might have the VO2 max of an 18-year-old if the 18-year-old is on the bottom of the chart. Like, it just doesn't, they just don't add up. You're an anomaly. Maybe that would be the thing. But then I just think as we age, it's going to change. It just is.
You can't outrun.
You can't outrun, what did we, Mother Time or
Father Time.
Father Time.
Yeah.
It says the indirect problem, consumer watches do not measure your breath, oxygen in versus carbon dioxide out. Instead, they use a sub-maximal heart rate algorithm. They look at the relationship between your pace and your heart rate and map it against a database. So they're taking all this data that they've gotten from true studies, I suppose, I would hope, from true studies, and they've said, Mitch at 50 whatever, and see, and this is where they don't even take into all the considerations, right? But it is going to take you versus your age, and that's one of the other things is you have to have accurate max heart rate plugged in there. Even if you don't have that plugged in there, all your data is going to be wrong
because it doesn't Because I think even if you say take Garmin, I wear Garmin, I think it puts in the average max heart rate for your age. You don't actually set it.
You can set it.
You can, but most people don't.
Most people don't, and then you've got inaccurate data. So bad data in, bad data out. You have to give it accurate information. And it says the noise factor, because it relies on heart rate, things like heat, caffeine, stress, or even a steep hill can artificially drop your watch VO2 max by points, even if your actual fitness hasn't changed. And I did, in reading on this, I've looked this up several times, and I've even referenced this. It can go both ways. You can have a VO2 max spitting out on your watch that could be 5 or 10 points lower than what you actually are, because it's not taking into all factors, or again, it's against another database. It's not true to you. And man, there was this video I watched in doing some research on this, and this guy phrased it so well on what VO2 max truly is and why it can't just be off a watch. And like I said, I don't know how many podcasts we did ago where I said, yeah, you cannot get it accurately, but you can use it as a gauge.
Right.
Am I improving?
Mm-hmm.
If it's ticking up, then yeah, I'm doing well. I'm actually improving. That's it. Other than that, if you want true numbers, you're going to have to go into a lab of some kind and get.
I just want to say mine and all my friends is lying. Mine is showing too low. Theirs is showing too high. I just want
to. There's a accuracy in the middle there somewhere.
Yeah.
The professional reality, a metabolic cart test, the gold standard as it is, has a margin of error of about 1 to 3%. A smartwatch has an average error margin of 5 to 10%, which is enough to misidentify your fitness level by an entire category. That's crazy. That's a lot. There's a first-hand experience, and this is similar to what I have seen. And it's funny, one of the videos I saw, they compared, this lady compared her Whoop, I don't remember what the ring is called, but there's a ring that does all that same type of stuff.
Like a mood ring?
Well, not a mood ring. It's more fitness-based.
Very angry right now.
Yeah. It's more fitness-based. Her Garmin and her Apple Watch. She tested all of those things for VO2 max, and the ring was the most accurate. She went into a lab. She went into a lab and ran all her actual VO2 max test and put it against the Garmin and the Whoop and Apple and this ring, and the ring was dead on.
Mood rings are no joke.
Yeah. The ones that change colors, right? And tell you.
Mine's angry all the time.
Yeah. It says, I spent 6 months obsessing over my watch's VO2 max, which said 48. I finally went to a sports lab for a treadmill test and clocked at 56. So it could be one or the other. It looks like that's you, Mitch. That's you. And
I don't know if that's true right now though, but I think it's probably worse than it says.
Next up, and this is a common one, but I will say that I think we have pretty accurate data depending on how you're using it. Optical heart rate versus the electrical truth. Says why the green light on your wrist might be cadence locking, quote unquote, and the green light would be the light underneath your watch that's checking your. Basically, it's reading your blood. It's reading the blood inside the veins to look at density and movement. It's weird. I did this checking when you sent this, and I said, well, let me learn a little bit more about this. And this PPG, I actually wanted to look up, it's funny. I tried to look up how to say this word. Your watch uses photoplethysmography.
That should be part of the title.
I could not find any YouTube scientists saying that word.
Because they can't say it.
They can't say it. That's why they go, we're just going to call it PPG. So
that is smart.
Yeah. So anyway, your watch uses PPG, light sensors that track blood volume changes. It says this is laggy, whereas a chest strap measures the electrical signal of the heart, ECG. So I thought it was like the chest strap, that makes sense. That's not new technology. That's been around. I think they've dialed that in pretty well. I think we get pretty accurate data from that.
The PPG is more new, in the last 10 years.
No, well, here's the thing. The PPG is not that new. The PPG, a doctor, they started using this back in the early 80s, like 84 or something like that.
But I'm saying like where you see it on everybody's wrist.
Not necessarily on a watch, right. But what was interesting is how PPG works. It is really fascinating on how it's measuring, what it's doing, how it's sending a light in and reading it back. And you've got like, on a typical like Garmin, you might see 5 to 8, depending on, like what would look like lights. Thing is, only 1 or 2 of those might be sending light in. The others are actually reading because it needs to then read the bounce, essentially. And depending on the density of the blood will tell you how much now I'm getting lost. Actually, I might be confusing something, but basically it needs to read that, and that's what those are doing. And it's telling it how long between each beat to give you the heart rate. So, but there are many things that can go wrong with that, and that's the one that I say, yeah, right, Garmin. This is not true. It says the cadence lock is one thing that can happen. This is the most common lie during high-intensity runs. I wouldn't even say it necessarily would have to be high intensity, but maybe.
or if you're just like spastic when you run.
Yeah, depending on what your form is like.
Me.
The watch can lose track of the blood flow and start counting your arm swings instead. Now, I have never heard that, but I think that is crazy. Which would make sense for...
That's why my heart rate is so high.
Yeah. You'll see your heart rate lock at 170 to 180, your steps per minute, even if you aren't working that hard. That's crazy. It says skin tone and hair have something to do with it. And that, again, this video that I watched, this doctor was talking all about that. And he said, yeah, it's great if it works. The thing that he even was saying, like, if you pull your watch back a little bit, like that, you can see the light isn't the same. It's not perfect.
Well, I've heard even tattoos. I've heard people talk about that, getting their arm tattooed there and then not working anymore.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that is interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some firsthand experiences. I was doing easy intervals when my watch suddenly spiked to 195. This sounds like me. I panicked thinking I had a heart condition. No, I didn't do that. I laughed and said, whatever, Garmin. I switched to a chest strap the next day and realized that the watch just was cadence locking. It was literally counting my steps, not my heartbeat. That's crazy. Man, that's just dumb. And that's the thing. It's like, how do you not test that and almost like say, you know what, we're not going to put, that is to me, that's, excuse me, getting excited.
It should be a disclaimer.
100%. That's almost like Garmin said, yeah, we know, but if we don't sell it with this, we're not going to get as many sales. That's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Although on the other hand,
they could get more sales on a chest strap.
Well, on the other hand, yeah, true. On the other hand, though, I guess I can see where Garmin's like, for daily wear, normal, it's going to read your heart rate pretty well.
I think
like
it does.
Sitting
okay
here,
for that.
I think it's going to read it pretty well. But when you get into the higher intensity type stuff, I guess I can see. Segment or this next segment or segment 3, I guess, or whatever, topic 3, I guess it would be, is the calorie burn black box, they call it. And basically just your watch says you're burning 2,000 calories. So you can eat a day's worth after your run. Why you shouldn't eat back the calories your watch says that you burned. We all like to do that. We used to do that. Nicole and I would go, man, when we were early on, we used to go to a popular Japanese steakhouse place here. we were taking easily more than what we burned on our long runs.
We used to do that every Saturday. We'd go to breakfast.
Treat.
Yeah, we'd go to breakfast afterwards and eat way more than what we burnt. Why am I gaining weight?
Yeah, right. So it says the overestimation trap studies including one from Stanford, found that none of the major wearables accurately measured energy expenditure. The most accurate device was still off by 27%.
Least
in 270 calories and 1,000 calories. If it's because think about it, on a long run, you could easily burn upwards of 1,000 calories.
I think we're ruining it for people that like to justify what they're eating. Like, I burned like 1 million calories. Cut it in half, and it's probably still too much.
Yeah. So
I like the least accurate was off by 93%.
Oh my gosh, that is insane.
Garmin.
So it could be telling you one of two things too. Just because it says it's off doesn't mean it's saying you're burning more. Could be. Well, you just did a 20-mile run and burned 200 calories. Wait, that's not right.
You're gonna have a can of Coke.
Yeah. Basal metabolic rate confusion. Many watches struggle to distinguish between calories burned just by being alive and calories burned through exercise, often double counting them.
I can see that.
That makes sense. Some firsthand experience said my watch told me I burned 800 calories in a 45-minute run. Oh my gosh. If I had eaten an extra 800 calories every time my watch told me that, I would have gained 10 pounds during my marathon training build instead of staying lean. So careful. The recovery time dictator. Yeah. This one always, it's funny because I always see this.
I always ignore it.
I
don't run for a week. Huh.
I think I ever saw a week, but I've definitely seen like 48 or more hours.
Yeah.
But I always look at it. I never pay attention to it though. Well, I shouldn't say I never.
Well, you do. You take a week off at a time.
No, I don't. I just do that because I don't do that because Garmin says.
Well, you can use as an excuse. It told me not to run.
Yeah. No, I shouldn't say that I ignore it because I think that Garmin does try to help you stay healthy. So if it says rest for 24 hours because of a hard intensity workout, or let's say 36, probably a good chance you shouldn't do another hard intensity workout tomorrow.
For sure.
Within 24 hours.
That
is that.
That should be common knowledge.
Yeah. What is a common sense isn't common?
Yeah.
As they say. So yeah, HRV, it says heart rate variability. Watches use HRV to tell you if you are recovered. However, HRV is highly sensitive. If you had a glass of wine or watched a stressful movie before bed, your watch might tell you to rest, even if your muscles are perfectly primed for a workout. So it's using things that don't necessarily tell an accurate story. Again, bad data in is going to give you bad data.
Mm-hmm.
Says a professional edge, a coach will look at your mood, your sleep quality, and your actual performance. A watch only looks at a 2D snapshot of your nervous system. And yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. You can tell your coach what's going on in your life. You can't really, it's hard to tell an electronic that. Some firsthand experiences, my watch gave me a readiness score and told me I needed 72 hours of recovery. I felt great, ignored the watch, and ran a 5K personal best that evening.
In a beer run.
You know, it's funny though, because that could easily happen depending on where you're at in your stage of running.
I think you gotta, there's other topics I want to cover talking about listening to your body. So I think it's got to be a little bit of, it could say like, hey, look, am I fatigued? How do my legs feel?
Yeah.
And then you still have to listen to your body.
You do. Yeah, and I think this would be an example of where the watch is looking at the 2D side of things. because I think early on, I'm sure you could say the same thing. Early on in your running journey, there were times that by the data that by the true just raw numbers that you plugged in, right? Like I just did this workout. There's no way you should go and run a 5K hard. However, because you're at because the slope of the curve of your improvement, because often it's like a curve like this versus a curve like this. Because there's so much improvement that happens early on, right? When you just start running and you're starting to get a groove, man, that improvement line, that curve is going steep versus real gradual.
I think that you need to pay. Yeah, I agree with that.
And so I think that you could do the 5K PR, even though your legs are not 100%, and you're not going to hurt yourself necessarily. Now, I'm not saying to do that, but I am saying that is very possible.
That makes sense to me.
So, but I also think that it is good to listen to data.
I think it's funny. Because I think we're dumber the longer that we run, and we should listen to this more. I've seen people that are just starting out that are so careful. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can handle more. You can handle more. But I don't want to, it's like, how do you, but somewhere you get dumb after that. Like he's like, oh, I can handle more, and you can't. So where's the line?
I don't know. Well, it's because we get away with stuff, I feel like. We start doing these doubles and stuff like that, your body is certainly capable of doing it. But like so many things we talk about, well, what are you going for in that race? Just to have fun? Well, that is a very different approach from a PR. You would never try to PR 2 marathons back to back. You just wouldn't do it. There's no way. You're going to try and run a PR on Saturday and then a PR on Sunday? That's injury.
Don't tell me I can't.
That's injury coming. So it's all the approach. Yeah. I'll show you.
I tried. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it is not good. So here is something you can do, and it's called reclaiming the tool. And basically how to use it correctly, right? How to use it right. Using tech for trends, not truths, because they often don't give you a scientific truth to what's happening, but it will give you a trend. Trend over total, or trends over totals. Your watch is bad at telling you exactly how many calories you burned today, or exactly what your heart rate is, or exactly what your VO2 max is. But it is great at telling you if you burned more today than you did yesterday. And I would say for the heart rate, or for the VO2 max, maybe it would be last month. My heart rate's lower at this pace on this same course than it was last month.
Right.
That that is a cool tool, like Garmin does. I think it's Garmin, or no, maybe it's Strava. They both do it, I suppose. But they'll tell you how you're comparing it to that route. And that is a cool thing. You can see over time, especially over long periods, like, oh, you've ran this 20 times, you're improving. And you can see heart rate, so that would be a trend that you can actually look at. The check-in method, use the watch to validate your rate of perceived exertion, which I think is the RPE thing is a way to run as well, where you don't use a lot of the data on your watch. It's more of a tracking system, and you run based off your perceived exertion. If you feel like you're at a level 4, but the watch says you're at your heart rate is at 180, trust your body and check if the watch is sliding around on your wrist. I guess it depends on if it's race day or not. If you're using heart rate, or if you're using wrist, I would say, yeah, do that. But man, I have used chest strap, or like the Coros, the arm. I have found that to be incredibly accurate. Now, I will say this, Coros is basically using the same thing as on the wrist, but it's not moving around. You know, it is tight, and that's a major artery right there, or, you know, vein in your arm that I think it is probably tested to be more accurate than the
to me, this is what your training runs are for, is testing all of that stuff out.
Yeah, true. What I do like about using heart rate for a race, though, is you can see where you're at.
You should dial it in before that. You should know. So
the only thing about a race day is you trained to, let's say, PR a marathon based on, let's say an 8-minute pace per mile. Well, that's only going to be in prime conditions of, let's say, 50 degrees and under. Well, if it's 70, you can't use that same pace. You can't do that. So you have to follow something. And that's where heart rate comes into play, but it has to be an accurate heart rate. If you don't, well, then what do you do with your race?
Right.
You just say, well, screw it. I've done that before, and that didn't work out very well. I walked like 12 of the last 13 miles by ignoring the pay or the conditions. It says, do the naked test. It doesn't mean run naked. It means to actually...
It could.
Yeah, it could. Do one, quote-unquote, naked run a week. No watch, no data. Learn what zone 2 feels like in your lungs, not what it looks like on the screen. And that's really good. Yeah. So, just some things to look at with regards to your data that you're collecting when you're doing these runs, when you're doing these training runs, how to maybe look at them a little bit more differently, looking at them through trends, not through right now, this says my VO2 max is 50. That's what it is. Well, not necessarily.
And if you really care about it that much, go get professionally tested. It's expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does for you. We're not, I don't know how many of our listeners are professional athletes.
Well, and that's where I think, what does it really matter as long as you are going, it is improving or it is getting worse?
Right. And you can see in how you feel. You can see in...
But like Terrence always said, there are other tests that will help you way more than VO2 max.
Right, like the sweat test.
Yeah. Like those things are going to really benefit you.
That's where I'd put my money on those. Yeah.
So VO2 max is great, but it is more just, hey, are you improving or are you not? But anyway, that's some things that you can take a look at and apply to your training programs. And as you age, it all changes. So it just does. Plain and simple.
It does.
Go check us out on Facebook. Go check us out on YouTube. All your favorite listening platforms. That is going to wrap up this episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know.
Until then, happy running.